Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Ballabha Girivanadari Jasoda Nandana Bhajajana Ranjana Jasoda Nandana Bhajajana Ranjana Jamunitira Vanatari Jamunitira Vanatari Jamunitira Vanatari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Gopijana Ballabha Girivanadari Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanatari Jamunatira Vanatari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Gopijana Ballabha Girivanadari Jasoda Nandana Bhajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanatari Jamunatira Vanatari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Shivo, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Jaya Raro Marava Kundave Hari. Jaya Raro Marava Kundave Hari. Jaya Rara Marava Kunda Vihari. Jaya Rara Marava Kunda Vihari. Jai Vishumpad Paramahansa Pariba Jagacharya Siddhata Shisham, His Divine Grace Abhaya Charan Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananda Kodavaishabinda Ki. Nam Char Shal Haidas Thakur Ki. Prem Shikaho Shikrishan Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidweta Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Go Bhakta Brinda Ki. Shri Radhakrishna Go Gopinath Shama Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mathura Dham Ki. Dwarkadam Ki. Navadivdam Ki. Jagannapuridam Ki. Chamunamaya Ki. Gangamaya Ki. Tosi Maharani Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Sambhita Bhakta Vindaki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Sri Radha Giridhari Ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtana Yoga Ki, Gopremanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to divine Lotus Sita, Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Krishna Svadamo Bhagate Dhamraganadi Bisaha Kalanda Sadashomesha Parano Kodadodita Narayana Namaskritchananam Chaivam Narotama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Bhagavatam is burned as the sun. It is written just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who have lost their vision to the dense darkness of the age of Kali shall get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of Srimadbhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer our respects to the personality of God Narayan, to the Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, the goddess of learning Mother Saraswati, the author Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are in the fourth canto, chapter 8, text 45. And who knows the storyline? What's happening right now? Other than Dravida Prabhu and Balaram. What's up? He's in the forest, and what's just happened? What's happening? Is he talking to someone? He's talking to Narada Muni. And what is Narada Muni instructing him in? Yes, how to meditate on the Supreme Lord. So that's where we're at. Prasadam bhukam mukham. Yeah. Shashvat prashana vadanekshanam sunasam subhravam charu. We could turn this up a bit. I don't think we pay by the penny for your wattage, do we? A little more juice. Kapolam sura sundaram prasadabhimukam shashvat prashana varunikshanam. Thank you. Sunasam subhravam charu kapolam sura sundaram prasadabhimukam shashvat prashana varunikshanam sunasam subhravam charu kapolam sura sundaram prasadabhimukam shashvat prashana varunikshanam sunasam subhravam charu kapolam sura sundaram prasadabhimukam shashvat prashana varunikshanam sunasam subhravam charu kapolam sura sundaram prasadabhimukam shashvat prashana varunikshanam sunasam subhravam charu kapolam sura sundaram prasadabhimukam shashvat prashana varunikshanam sunasam subhravam charu kapolam sura sundaram. Vaishnavi prasadabhimukam shashvat prashana varunikshanam sunasam subhravam charu kapolam sura sundaram prasadabhimukam. Always prepared to offer causeless mercy. Shashvat, always. Prasanna, pleasing. Vadana, mouth. Ikshanam, vision. Sunasam, very nicely constructed nose. Subhravam, very nicely decorated eyebrows. Charu, beautiful. Kapolam, forehead. Sura, the demigods. Sundaram, good looking. Translation. The focus of the Lord, the form of the Lord is described herein. The Lord's face is perpetually very beautiful and pleasing in attitude. To the devotees who see him, he appears never to be displeased, and he is always prepared to award benedictions to them. His eyes, his nicely decorated eyebrows, his raised nose, and his broad forehead are all very beautiful. He is more beautiful than all the demigods. So also you say, the form of the Lord is described herein.
The form of the Lord is described herein.
The Lord's face is perpetually very beautiful.
The Lord's face is perpetually very beautiful.
And pleasing in attitude.
And pleasing in attitude.
To the devotees who see him,
see him.
He appears never to be displeased,
He appears never to be displeased,
and he is always prepared
and he is always prepared
to award benedictions to them.
to award benedictions to them.
His eyes, his nicely decorated eyebrows,
Nicely decorated eyebrows,
his raised nose,
his raised nose,
and his broad forehead
his broad forehead
are all very beautiful.
are all very beautiful.
He is more beautiful than all the demigods.
He is more beautiful than all the demigods.
Purport. This verse clearly explains how one has to meditate on the form of the Lord. Impersonal meditation is a bogus invention of the modern days. In none of the Vedic literatures is impersonal meditation recommended. In Bhagavad Gita, when meditation is recommended, the word matpara, which means pertaining to me, is used. Any Vishnu form pertains to Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna is the original Vishnu form. Sometimes someone tries to meditate upon the impersonal Brahman, which is described in Bhagavad Gita as avyakta, meaning unmanifest or impersonal. But it's remarked by the Lord himself that those who are attached to this impersonal feature of the Lord suffer a very troublesome task, because no one can concentrate on the impersonal feature. One has to concentrate on the form of the Lord, which is described here in connection with Dhruva Maharaj's meditation. As it will be apparent from later descriptions, Dhruva Maharaj perfected this kind of meditation, and his yoga was successful. Om Gyanatamarandasya Gyana Gana Salakaya Jakshush Militan Gena Tazari Shri Gurave Namaha. I remember I was thinking about it. Prabhupada says that from the Sikshastakam, that maybe one of the atoms of the dust of your lotus feet. So Prabhupada said, do you know what the important purport of this sloka is? That the Lord has lotus feet. That the Lord has lotus feet. So, and of course, here's a wonderful description, and each of us are seeing in our own way. Just a few preliminary things. A devotee asked Prabhupada, I was there in Los Angeles, asked Prabhupada that, in this painting, Krishna looks like this. And in this painting, Krishna looks like that. And yet in this one, he looks like this. Prabhupada said, don't worry, when you get there, you'll recognize him. So Krishna's, and just according to our desire, Krishna appears. It's not that Krishna that Krishna has no independent status. Krishna looks the way he likes to look. He dresses the way he likes to look. Krishna has preferences. He has desires. He has a way he likes to present himself. At the same time, he also reciprocates with the devotees. I've heard people say, well, actually Krishna he's like a mirror or a chameleon that according to our desire, Krishna manifests. Well, on one hand, that's true, that Krishna comes in a way to please his devotees. But he also has his own preference, his own desire. He's a person, independent of whatever we may want. So, it said that Krishna is perpetually beautiful. Now, to me, because nothing in this world is constantly mutable. And there's, I can't remember, it's probably a good thing, but, there's these movie stars. There was one who was famous for being very beautiful. I forget her name. And, but she became old and finally, and her famous line was, I just want to be left alone. Because she didn't come out of her house. Because her, very beautiful, and then everything, gravity takes its toll. And I don't mean gravity in the sense of a mental state. I mean gravity as far as, one of the laws of nature. Everything begins to sag, everything drops, everything's affected by gravity. Bags under the eyes, the belly, everything droops. So, Was it Greta Garbo? Yeah, and big dark glasses, and they, because they've lost it, So, and someone was telling me, maybe Deva Amrita Maharaj, that they have the average number of beauty products that men use a certain number of beauty products. I think it's an average of 5 or 6. And women, it's like 8 or whatever it is. But the same toothpaste, shaving cream, aftershave, some deodorant, and whatever it is, because the body just lies down for a few hours untended, and it's foul. You got to scrub it up before you can stand next to another person. So this is not the perpetual beauty of Krishna. So why? There was also it was here in SanDiego, there was a power outage in a building. And they interviewed there was a group that was stuck in an elevator, maybe 7 or 8 people for quite some time, 8, 9 hours stuck in an elevator. And it was summertime, so they got a little ripe after a while, got pretty... Yeah, and then they interviewed the guy. What do they say? To see but to not see. And they're famous for seeing but not seeing. So the guy said that, he was a courier. And he said he used to like to ride up and down in the elevators because he would always and there were so many beautiful secretaries going here and going there. And he could flirt with the secretaries while in the elevator. So those momentary encounters were quite relishable. But when it was prolonged, and in the hot summer, it got to be like, 98 degrees in there with 60% humidity. I mean, I'm not going to go into the details of the thing, and not everyone could control their bodily functions for 8 hours. So, all the mascara ran and all the deodorant wore off and the other bodily functions, all the 9 gates of the city were active. So it became a nasty, the guy told me, he said, it's just not the same when you got to spend a prolonged period of time. So this is not, why waste all of our valuable time? We don't have. Why invest it in such an ephemeral, flickering, foolish? It's just stupid that we should not be. What if it's true? Well, I'll get to that in a second. Because we were talking about personalism and impersonalism yesterday, and the question and answer. And Prabhupada talks about impersonalism in that. So one can ask, why is personalism superior to impersonalism? How can we make that case? So I was thinking of a couple of ways we could make that case. For example, we give the example that I had a father, my father had a father, my father's father. There must be an original cause, right? And then they always come back, if they're a little thoughtful, they say, and we say Krishna is, what is it, Sarva Karana Karanam, he's the cause of all causes. Well, who was the cause of God, And then we say, well, God is that when you come to that person or that source that has no other cause, that's God. He has no, that's by the very definition. And then if they're smart, they come back and say, well, why can't the material nature just be causeless? Or why can't the impersonal Brahman just be causeless? Just like you ask us to define Krishna as causeless, well, why can't the material nature just be causeless? It's always existed and it's been causeless. Or why can't the impersonal Brahman Or wherever you want to, why can't the Mahatattva just be causeless? It always was, always will be, like that. If we accept that definition for Krishna, well, why can't we just slide it over and say, you are? Okay, go ahead. No, I have a plan to answer. But go ahead.
Because the caused cannot have anything more than the cause. And we're, personality is here, and there's no personality in Brahman or in the material energy.
Exactly. And another way of looking at it, it's called the argument from entropy. That do we find, and it's actually what would you call it? It is a cardinal failure of Darwinism. Do we ever find, this building was designed by someone. In fact, Gunagraj Maharaj was married at the time, and his wife, Kirtika, it's her artistry that designed this building. Now, it was formerly an Elks Lodge. This was originally a Navy barracks built by the Army Corps of Engineers. It was a Navy barracks, then it was a factory, it was a movie theater at one point in time, and it was an Elks Lodge. Now, it went from a barn-like Elks Lodge to a beautiful temple. Now, and if we leave it alone without the touch of a conscious being, what will happen to this? Even now, you leave it alone for a week and the garbage piles up and stinks with flies coming out of it. Or what happens if there's not the impersonal, if there's not the personal touch? If you come back in 30 years, what will this building look like? Yeah, covered over the vines. Everything will be falling apart. Things go from complex to simple. That is the nature of things. It's called the law of entropy. That things degrade, things devolve. Things do not evolve from simple to complex unless there's a touch of a conscious, a superior entity. Somebody had to take all the building material and put it together and design this building. It won't just evolve. You can't just take, what is that, Kevin's shed? We come back in 30 years and that shed will have evolved into a nice pagoda or something. No, even now, you leave it alone, the door is falling off, so many different things are happening. So the idea that the impersonal is superior, and from the simple, the complex evolved, from the one-dimensional, the multi-dimensional, no, that's not, nowhere do we experience that. It's completely the antithesis, the opposite of what we experience in this world. And yet we are asked to believe, no one would accept Badrinarayan Swami's construction company. I'm going to save you money. Nice neighborhood, but you can't find the house you like, or you find the house you like, but it's not a crummy neighborhood. Don't worry. Find a place you like. Swami's construction company, with that secret ingredient, TNT, dynamite, will just pile all the stuff together and blow your dream house into existence. You going to hire me? Badrinarayan Swami Construction Company? My logo will be a mushroom cloud, a little explosion cloud, What were you going to say? Call the men in the white suits, yeah. I thought you'd call the Better Business Bureau. But the point is that no one would accept that. And yet we're asked to accept that this whole world evolved from, would they start off with, what is it, chemical evolution from amino acids? And from amino acid, of course the amino acids, where do they come from? That comes from the prebiotic soup. And somehow or other, amino acids into proteins, proteins into cells, and up it evolved. No, things don't work that way. So we are asked, it's divorced from seamless logic. It's actually, if challenged, It's like the Emperor's New Clothing. You know the story of the Emperor's New Clothing?
Yeah.
The guy was vain, and so some clever shyster told him, oh, this cloth it's so finely woven. You know, the weave is so delicate that only a refined person like you can understand it. So it's just the finest silk, the finest from the chin of goats in cashmere. You know, this is... So anyway, the story is that the guy buys it, and the outfit, very expensive, puts it on, so fine that, you know, he's actually buck naked, and he goes out in parade to show his new clothes, and everyone thinks, well, there must be... He's the king, and he's a refined person, there must be... And finally some kid on the street says, hey, look, the king's naked! And everybody begins to laugh, you know. It was, you know, just took a little common sense. So, did everything evolve from nothing, or everything evolve from the Brahman, from just this oneness? No. Rather that as we have form, as we have personality, there must be the most refined, the most sublime form. And here it's being described. His nice forehead and lips and nose and smile. He's always happy. Krishna's always pleased. So, I'll give you an example. Energy always rests on energetic, if you think about it for a moment. What is an example we experience? This is what you call a slow softball underhand pitch. It's hard to miss. What do we see every day that confirms the principle that energy rests on energetic? Anyone want to hazard a guess other than Balaram or? No? You would be, the whole world would be in complete anxiety if this event did not occur every day. What's that? What's that? Sun, yeah. The sunlight rests on the sun. If something is, there's the energy, and it rests on the energetic. Heat and light. As soon as there's heat and light, you think, oh, there must be some source. There's a fire somewhere. There's heat and light. There's a source. If I sense a vibration, what does it mean? It means that something's vibrating somewhere. Bang! Oh, someone must have slammed the door. Ding! I mean, here it goes. Here's a vibration for you. This is just... No, it has a source. It has a source. So vibration means something is vibrating. So ultimately, everything has... It comes from form. So there's some different ways of looking at it. And they always say, what do they say? Have you ever seen God? You ever been asked that? Have you seen God? Of course, Prabhupada switched it around. Prabhupada said, the question is, that's not the right question. You know, the question is, why can't you see God? I'm seeing God. I was there. A man asked Prabhupada, have you seen God? Prabhupada says, that's not the question. Prabhupada would answer in different ways. Sometimes Prabhupada would say, what does it mean, what I'm seeing? The question is, what are you seeing? And why can't you see God? That's the question you should be asking. So a man asked Prabhupada, can you see God? Prabhupada said, that's not the right question. The question is, why can't you see God? Of course, there's the famous story in London, Bhaktivedanta Manor. Prabhupada's here, deities are here, packed temple room. Man stands up, why can't you see God? Prabhupada said, I can see God, but you're standing in the way. Sit down. So Prabhupada said, you know, so the man asked, can you see God? And Prabhupada said, that's not the right question. You should be asking, why can't you see God? And the man said, well, I asked you first, you know, like a kid. So are you seeing God? Prabhupada said, I am seeing Krishna at every moment. So people say, well, no one's seen God, this and that. Well, no, that's not true, actually. So many people have seen God. Great saints, rishis, yogis, mystics, and they've reported their experiences. Anybody here seen the Eiffel Tower? You have. Any Eiffel Tower viewers? Well, how do you know it's not Photoshop? Huh? How do you know?
I don't know.
Well, why do you believe it then?
Why do I believe it?
Yeah, why do you believe the could be all it's the French. You can't trust those sneaky frogs, you know. It's the French. They're pulling a ruse on you. They want you just to fly over there and spend your money. Once you're there, what are you going to do? Hey, where's the Eiffel Tower? I'm going home. No, you're going to shop. You're going to do a few things. Anybody seen the pyramids? Yes. Okay, we got a pyramid believer. Other than you. So, but why do we believe it? Why do you believe it? People you trust. People you trust have told you. Sariputta told me, the great genius Sariputta, it's something like, and it's a phenomenal amount. I mean, there's the psychology of education, which how do people learn and how do people know what they know? There's, hermeneutics and, all that stuff. How do people know what they know? And it's something like 90% of what we know, what we think we know, we've never experienced, we've heard from others. It's a huge amount of stuff. I mean, math, there's so much stuff we just axiomatically we accept. So many things. You ever seen an atom? When was the last time you saw an atom? There goes one. I mean, I believe in. And even now, whether it's actually atoms or whether it's actually vibrations, there's two different schools of physics, quantum mechanics and regular physics. One says it's a particle, the other, they can't even work. Isn't that the grand theory? If you can figure out the unified field theory, if you can figure out how to, because there's one whole set of math that describes as physical particles. And there's another whole set of math that describes, it's true, I couldn't make this stuff up, that's vibrations, waves. And how do you get the two fields of math to mesh? They can't do it. Whoever does it will immediately get the Nobel Peace Prize. They can't figure it out. I mean, it's ridiculous. Well, what was the point I was trying to make? So so Sariputta was saying it's like 90% of, have you ever seen that? Oh, there goes one, whatever it is. So 90% of what we believe, we just, as a small kid, you put your hand over the moon and the moon's gone. But the parent says, well, my son, that the moon is actually, so many miles away, and this and that, And the kid, all right, I believe it, must be true, But, so the point is, we believe it because we've heard it from people we trust. Well, they can't be like, I Googled it. Or it's in the Oxford Dictionary, it's in the Encyclopedia Britannica, or my professor at MIT told me that, So, but let's look at it for a moment. What are the caliber of those sources? I mean, textbooks are revised, I think it's every 10 years by law in the state of California. They have to revise the textbooks, throw out so many stuff, put new stuff in, but So, I'm not, what do you call it, conspiracy, conspiracy, yeah, but, have you seen God? That was what launched this. Who's seen God? Can you tell? But the fact of the matter is there are people who have seen God, just as there's people who've seen the Eiffel Tower or seen the Empire State Building and we've never seen it, or seen the pyramids or whatever. There are there's many of them. And they've written down their experiences in the srimadbhagavatam. The great sages are speaking. So, well, that's just mythology, and well, what about the Goswamis 500 years ago and their descriptions? Well, people can imagine so many things. I can imagine the moon's made out of green cheese. Wasn't there the land of the lollipops or something. I can just make up that it's made out, there's rivers of chocolate there. I can make up whatever I want. It sounds good to me. Well, what are the caliber of the people? Well, I don't know, this Narada Muni. How do I know Narada Muni ever existed? Okay, fine. But what about the 6 Goswamis? They're historical figures. The poetry, there are people who study the poetry of the Goswamis simply for the lyrical value of the thing, the meter, the subject matter, the way the Sanskrit wording is put together. I mean, the caliber of these, people are always considered, if someone likes opera, they're considered, well, they must be sophisticated or whatever, and it's, as compared to rap or whatever it is. But consider just the poetry. Consider the writings of the Goswamis. What to speak of their personal caliber. And the historical figures. I mean, Prime Minister of Bengal under the Nawab Hussain Shah. You can go to the prison where Sanatana Goswami was kept in jail. You can look at the British records of what the volume, the gross product of the state of Bengal was. It was more than France at the time. Yeah, it's more than France. And Sanatana Goswami was the prime minister. He's a historical figure. It's not a fool. And Rupa Goswami was the finance minister. And Sanatana Goswami was the prime minister. Man Singh. Just as a sidelight, Man Singh is one of the 9 jewels of Akbar. Akbar's kingdom went all the way from Afghanistan all the way into Burma. They had free education. They had a public sewer system. When in the Dark Ages, they're thinking if we bathe, it causes disease. Perfume's invented to cover the ode day, whatever, So such a magnanimous person, and his general was Man Singh. And actually the Mughals could not come into Rajasthan. I'm going to get to a point, don't worry, a devotional point. They couldn't get into Rajasthan. They never conquered Rajasthan. They nibbled around, but they never conquered Rajasthan. That's why the Govinda Dev was moved, and the Vrindavan deities were moved to Jaipur, because even that horrible Kamsa come again, Aurangzeb couldn't get in. And there's a picture of him, because and it's a long story. I went to the city palace. I went with the temple president in Jaipur, and we went to see where Prabhupada stayed. We went to take darshan of Govinda Dev, and we went to see where Prabhupada stayed, because he was a guest of the Maharaj, the Maharani of Jaipur when Prabhupada was, whatever it was. So you can see where Prabhupada stayed. And as you go there, there's a museum. You go through the museum, and there's a picture of Man Singh, who was about 6'6", and he's standing there, and in his left hand he's got a sword. It's a painting of him. And in his right hand, he's chanting japa. That's a bona fide Kshatriya, And Jai Singh, who's, I could tell you, I don't want to take the time, but he was a great devotee. And his whole palace is designed. Rajasthan had the output of the state of California. And they had tax collection, land records, marriage records, all kinds of stuff. They had all their different ministries. It was a government. And Jai Singh was on top of it. And the way Jai Singh designed his palace, which had there's one building, so all the administration, all the rooms on this side, all the different offices and departments, they all open onto one hall. And there's a big long hall. And at the end of that hall, there's a big arch, an open archway. And outside that archway is a whole series of fountains. It's it must have been absolutely gorgeous. Now it's all trash, but it must have been beautiful. And at the end of that line of fountains is Govinda Dev's temple, and right in the middle is Govinda Dev. And the king's order was that, and the British, because it's the city of Jaipur, now it's just overgrown and crazy quilt, but it was designed by Vastu. And the British called it one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And it was all ordered and laid out. There was the main cardinal roads. There was the sun road, and then there was the moon road, and everything was built off that. And the center of the whole thing was the king's palace, and in the center of the king's palace was Govindadev, his temple. But the point is that all the government officers, every morning when they came in, king's order was they had to look down and sight down that hallway, down the fountains and to the temple, and pray to Govindadev that please, may whatever I do today satisfy you. May I manage this, whatever my department, for your pleasure. And when they ended, before they went home, everybody came out, and they all said, please, Govindadev, we hope that today's activity satisfied you. So that's just one. That's Man Singh. And then Jai Singh. And a huge kingdom, better managed than England. Sanatana Goswami. So these are even within our own, what to speak of, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, a walking encyclopedia. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was such an expert, exalted manager. There was Mr. Ravenshaw. Mr. Ravenshaw was the district magistrate. The British. He was in charge, whatever it was, all of Puri and portions of Orissa. And it turns out that he was actually envious. At the end of his life, Mr. Ravenshaw apologized to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was shocked to find out that this man was actually envious of this British guy. And so he asked him why. And Mr. Ravenshaw said that if India had 100 men like you, they could throw out the British and run the whole country themselves. So he was concerned. Bhaktivinoda, he was absorbed in his writing and managing the Jagannath temple and chastising the false Vishnu incarnations and stuff like that. He wasn't interested in politics. But if you look, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was there? It was the governor of Bengal. The governor of Bengal was so impressed. The governor of Bengal, we're off the track, but it's okay. Oh, we're way off the track. The governor of Bengal, he was invited to the Gaur Purnim festival by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And in those days, there was no road from Calcutta to Mayapur. It was all, ox cart and this and that, it was funky and dangerous. So in order to get, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was criticized by the Smartas and this and that, and the owls, bowels, groups there, Sahajya groups, because he was bringing this Malecha meat eater to Mayapur. Criticized, heavy criticism. But to get the governor there, they had to repair the road to bring him and his entourage and everything out. And after the whole thing was over, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, I couldn't care less for the governor. I just wanted the road. It was this transcendental strata. They've got a beautiful road so people could come to Mayapur for the pilgrimage, So, but the point is there was, and I can't remember the man's name, there was some big, in those days, Calcutta was the second city of the British Empire after London. Forget Hong Kong, forget Singapore, forget Cairo or whatever. Calcutta was the second city of the British Empire. And therefore the university, whatever that Scottish Churches College and the other college, they were first-class universities, Oxford Standard. And the guy who was the dean of it, he got into a debate with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Christianity and impersonalism and whatever it was, and he was defeated so badly. All the glitterati, what is it? All the hoity-toity, what's the right word? All the upper crust of the intellectual and social, of Calcutta came to this debate. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur hit him so hard intellectually, the man passed stool and urine at the podium. Yep. You know how hard? I mean, because he realized he was being completely smashed, embarrassed, he was just crushed by the intellectual power of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Soiled himself. I mean, I don't mean to be graphic, but I mean, just imagine, it's like being punched in the stomach. So, Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they accept Krishna. And they accept, if A equals B and B equals C, what? A equals C. So, they accept people of those caliber that we can confirm their character, their achievements, their intellectual acumen, their status. They accepted Narada and Devala and Asita and all the great rishis. They accept the srimadbhagavatam, and the Bhagavatam describes Krishna. So therefore, who else are you going to believe? Who else is out there? These midgets, mental midgets of Kali Yuga. I met Professor Dimmock. We are way over, but I'm going to finish here. I met Professor Dimmock. Professor Dimmock at the time, he has the intro to Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. I think they took him. Is he still in there? Because now we don't need it. The moon is self-effulgent. The sun is self-effulgent. But he was the top Sanskrit scholar in the world. University of Chicago. Even that Banaras Sanskrit University used to bow before the Sanskrit department at the University of Chicago. And Professor Dimmock was the top guy. And he had communicated, the BBT had asked him to write a reference about Prabhupada's Gita. So I went with Parvajacharya Maharaj. We were brahmacharis in those days. And so we were supposed to go and meet Dimmock, take him some prasadam from the Chicago temple, and get this is before email and all that stuff, and get his letter praising Prabhupada's Gita. So Parvajacharya Prabhu at the time, nice brahmachari, made the arrangements, and I was going with him. We were partners. And so we went at the appointed day, and right on, I don't know if you're Lakeshore Drive. It was a beautiful, anyway, with a fancy place where the guy lived. Big bay windows overlooking, Lake Michigan. Showed up 10 o'clock in the morning. Rang the doorbell. No answer. Rang the doorbell. We could hear somebody, furniture moving, or someone was inside. So we rang the door. And finally, he undid the latch. Opened the door. Oh, you could smell the alcohol. If you'd lit a stick of incense, he would have self-emulated, And, grizzly beard, and in his pajamas, and just disheveled hair, and drunk as a skunk, pickled to the gills. Drunk at 10 o'clock in the morning. So much so that he told us, he said, I'm really not quite in order. Can you come tomorrow? And we came the next day, and he was sober. But we're going to believe Professor Dimmock? Or I don't know who else is there? Who else Stephen Hawking's? Who changed his mind, renounced at the end of his career, said, a brief history of time. He said, I got it wrong. Oh, well, thanks for the tip, Steve. Now you tell us, But the point is, that the simple point I'm trying to make is the descriptions of Krishna are real. And those people of actual caliber from time immemorial have accepted them. And therefore, who are we? So who are you going to put your faith in? So put our faith in beautiful, as he's described here, perpetually beautiful, smiling sweetly, always in a pleasant disposition. He's not throwing thunderbolts and smiting and smoting and turning people into pillars of salt, Okay, let us accept beautiful Shama Sundar. And if we're going to serve somebody, because everybody's serving somebody, why not serve beautiful Shama Sundar? Give your love. I promise I'll end here. The most valuable thing we have is our love. why not give our love to the best place? It doesn't exclude. If you love Krishna, you love dogs, cats, the ants, our wife, you love everybody perfectly. So we're not, it's not cutting everybody else out. But the point is that that most valuable commodity, our love, our affection, our full attention, why not give it to Krishna? Give it to the best. Don't squander it. Don't waste it. Don't throw it away. Give it to beautiful Krishna. Okay, we can end there. Hare Krishna. And I think we should extend the class time. Why? I don't think I think we should give it another 10 minutes. Everywhere else, they have a 45-minute to an hour class. We got a half-hour class. It's not like they're running out on book distribution as soon as the class is over. Christmas marathon's different. That we can have a short class. Maharaj Jai Singh, at the end of his life, after he handed everything over, you can see his place at the top of his at the city. It goes all the way up, and at the top of the city palace, he had a big telescope made in France, and he would sit there with the telescope and look all the way down. With the telescope, you can see beautiful Govindadev, and he would just chant japa, and he would watch the puja going on. He would watch the artis and the festival, and sitting at the top of his palace. And he's an astronomer. He's a famous astronomer. He built all those different, for calculating all the movements of the sun and the moon, and he was a scientist. He was a great astrologer.
That was Jai Singh.
Maharaj Jai Singh.
Jai Singh.
Astronomer, not astrologer. Although he probably was that as well. They're not mice. Trump.
Sitting at the top of the White House.
He's looking at some woman.
Looking down to Mars.
He's looking at some woman. There was a Maharaj. I forget the guy's name. He built this big, beautiful tower. Turns out he built the tower because he was watching it. He could see into another Raja's palace, a sub-Raj, and watch his wife bathe. And he sent the, I'm trying to remember the name of who it was. One of the Mughal guys he was in love with this with this other guy's wife, and he sent him off to fight the Afghans. And he was actually shot from behind by one of the king's agent, Maharaj's agent. So then as a widow, he took his wife. So,
Crazy.
Who are we going to listen to? People of this caliber?
Yeah.
Movie stars? These guys have divorced 3 or 4 times and been in rehab. And
Distributing books over by USD.
yes.
Shop. And I went into this Mexican food restaurant, and I went to the people, the cashiers or people or whatever, and I was going to some of the people sitting down eating.
Ah.
Oh, yeah.
And I went to one guy who was there eating. Younger guy had a beard and everything. He was eating like some meat burrito, whatever. So then he told
Bones
me,
and feathers.
So then he told me, he said, "Oh yeah, I know about that." He said, "I'm a professor here at USD." And then my natural reaction, I wasn't trying to offend the guy or something. I said, "Oh really?" I was a little surprised, because kind of how he looked.
Yeah. It looks scruffy.
And then he said, "Oh, I know it seems." He said, "Oh, I know it. It might not look like it right now."
Oh, he picked up on that.
Yeah, I'm not sitting here, scarfing down the burrito. Or whatever, I said,
That was in
USD.
USD, which is a good university materially. Oh, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Who are these people? They don't even know enough to take a shower after passing stool. I'm sorry. They're eating bones and feathers like some Neanderthal man. They're not even clean. What to speak of their, these professors, it's a big deal. That they're seducing their students, to get a good